The beauty of Britishers is whatever they do, before or after such activity, they will write it down on the paper. Despite having these good habits, they are the ones to have written constitution in this country. But that's not the concern for us. The concern for is India and its polity, which means what is kind of government or type of government or form of government that India possesses. Generally, India possesses a parliamentary form of government with the separation of powers. So, the India, when you talk about India's government and India's polity, we are concerned with, we have to know the Constitution of India. We have to know the Constitution of India. Constitution is what? Constitution is a living document. This is a supreme law of the nation. Supreme law of the nation, which is India. And what is the main feature of this constitution is it's a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So this is the main features of Indian constitution, and this is a written constitution, unlike UK constitution where it is unwritten, but India's constitution is written constitution, and this is one of the lengthiest constitution in the world. And if you talk about constitution is concerned with the people of India. Constitution is concerned with people of India, and constitution contains provisions related to working procedure and working structure of the government of India or government per se. So what's this constitution contains is constitution talks about the philosophy of constitution. So the philosophy of Indian constitution is to have limited government. Limited government means what? In the limited form of government, the rights of peoples and the rights of individuals and their dignity will be protected. Basically, constitution guarantees fundamental rights, and through these fundamental rights the government activities can be limited, and this phenomena is referred to as constitutionalism. And this philosophy of constitution is reflected in the ideals or provisions mentioned in the constitution. So in short, what constitution is related to people and government. So in the government there are certain organs of government, which are legislature, executive and judiciary. Legislature involves in making of laws. Executive involves in enforcing those made laws by the legislature, and judiciary involves in interpretation of laws. So this is related to constitution, and from today onwards we are beginning the amazing journey of discussing the entire subject of polity. Because if you see, you take any examination, generally around 3 to 5 questions can be asked from this important subject, which is polity, and I ensure that no single sentence can be missed out from this subject polity. The reference book here would be what? M. Lakshmikant, and I was covering each and every sentence of this book, M. Lakshmikant, and the topic we are discussing is polity. We are having a short lectures. We don't have a big lecture of 50 minutes or 1 hour. We are having 10 to 15 minutes discussion of every topic. We are cutting into the pieces, so by drop we are filling our tank. So that's a disclaimer I want to make, and we are discussing the subject polity, and this is lecture 1, and the chapter is what? Historical background to Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution. So let's start over this amazing journey. So the first chapter is what? The first chapter is historical background to Indian Constitution. So if you see the constitution was adopted on 26th November 1949 and enforced all those provisions on 26th January 1950. So on this day we are celebrating what? We are celebrating Republic Day, and on this day we are celebrating what? We are celebrating Constitution Day. So how Constitution was evolved in India? If you see in the modern history says during World War II, August August wafer were introduced in the year 1940, and after then Cripps mission came in the year 1942. After then cabinet mission, and because of this cabinet mission on 1946, the Constituent Assembly was established, and this Constitution Assembly, several major committees were present in this Constituent Assembly, and one of the major committees, 7-member committee, which is drafting committee, which involves in the drafting of Indian Constitution. This is how India was evolved, but this is not what we are reading in this chapter. The major important acts and provisions in this chapter includes what? From a British expansion and British British entry into India. So in the year 1757, Battle of Plassey was happened, and in the year 1857, Sepoy revolt was happened, and in the year 1920 non-cooperation movement, 1930 civil disobedience movement, and 1940 what? Quit India movement. So these were the chronology of national movement, basically India's freedom struggle. So during these times of British annexation or British expansion begins from 1757 to Battle of Plassey. So then the East India Company appointed Governor of Bengal, and in the year 1773 this has transformed into Governor General of Bengal, and in the year 1883 this has been transformed further from Bengal to Governor General of India, and 1833 and 1858 after the Sepoy revolt or Sepoy mutiny, so this has transformed into Viceroy of India, and to the India's Independence Act 1947, so Viceroy has been named as Governor General of India, and first Governor General of India after India's independence, Mountbatten, after then C. Rajagopalachari. So during these periods, what has happened was Britishers has passed various acts. So those acts were important for examination. So Britishers were passed 13 acts. So we have to know the important provisions of these 13 acts. These were highly important for examination. Any examination you take, 1 or 2 questions can be asked from this chapter, which is historical background to Indian Constitution. So the acts were what? First act introduced by Britain was Regulating Act. So this is during the times of East India Company rule. This was started in the year 1773 and ended in the year 1858. And after this East India Company rule, Crown rule was started in the year 1858, and this lasted till 1947. So this East India Company rule and Crown rule. So why East India Company rule? Because the Britain government has passed a charter to East India Company to have the trade in India. But what they did, they also established their political ambitions, and they also fulfilled their political ambitions within the country. So which is why East India Company's rule was started from the year 1757 to 1858, but regulation of this company was started in the year 1773 through what? Through Regulating Act 1773, and to the amendment to this act done in the year 1784 under the Premiership of Britain, and his name is William Pitt the Younger, and the name of that act is Pitt's India Act 1784. After then Charter Act of 1893, and after then Charter Act of 1813, followed by Charter Act of 1833, and finally Charter Act of 1853. So these were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 acts were introduced during times of East India Company rule, and after then 1857 revolt has happened, and after this revolt, the British government has abolished this East India Company rule, and the direct control was taken by the Crown. So that time period is referred to as Crown Rule. This was started in the year 1857, lasted till 1947. So Crown Rule began through the Act, which the name of the Act is Government of India Act 1858, and this Act is also referred to as Good Government Act. And after then India's Council Act 1861. After then India's Council Act 1892, where indirect elections were introduced for the first time in India. After then Council Act 1909 are morally into reforms, and after then Montagu Chelmsford reforms 1990, and after then Government of India Act 1935. So this act is a result of 3 round table conferences as well as Simon Commission report. And after then finally India's Independence Act 1947. So through this act India got independence, and on 15th August, and Pakistan got independence on 14th August. So that's the story how Constituent Assembly meanwhile as established, and drafting committee drafted Constitution of India for India, and this was fully enforced on the 26th January 1950. So this is the evolution of Indian Constitution. So we have to begin from here 7 acts and here 6 acts, totally 13 acts we need to discuss. So we have to start from Regulating Act 1773. So let's dive into the discussion. The first act is Regulating Act 1773. So if you see the significance of this act, is this British government regulated the East India Company through Regulating Act 1773. And one more point is this Regulating Act 1773 laid the foundation for central administration in India. So how central administration was founded? So here after you learn about the provisions, you will know about how this act established or laid the foundation for central administration in India. And if you see the provisions or features of this act, this act transformed Governor of Bengal into Governor General of Bengal. That's the first point. And the second point is the governors of Bombay and the governors of Madras became subordinate to whom? To Governor General of Bengal. And to assist this Governor General of Bengal, four member executive council were appointed to assist whom? To assist Governor General of Bengal. And if you see another provision, this act was mainly introduced to regulate what? To regulate the corrupt practices and also illegal trade performed by the company directors or the company company employees. So the fourth provision of this act includes, this act prohibits officers from taking private trade. So what has happened? So the Bombay governor and Madras governor becomes subordinate to Governor General of Bengal. So therefore the central administration has begun, which is why this is a major significance of this act, which is foundation for central administration. How central administration were founded here? So Bombay Madras governor became subordinate to Governor General of Bengal. Hence this act laid the foundation for central administration in India. And if you see some key important points that were important for the examination, for what? Who is the first Governor General of Bengal? The first Governor General of Bengal is Warren Hastings from 1774 to 1785. And During the provision of this Regulating Act 1773 also talks about establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta in the year 1774. So Supreme Court was established at Calcutta in the year 1774. So the Supreme Court of this Calcutta contains one Chief Justice and three other judges, and the name of this Chief Justice is important, and his name is Sir Sir Elijah Sir Elijah Impe. Sir Elijah Impe. So this is overall provisions important for the examination of this act, and the name of the act is Regulating Act 1773. And let me revise this act again in short time. So the significance of this act is British government regulated East India Company through Regulating Act 1773 because they are involved in corrupt practices as well as some illegal trade and also private trade. So in order to cover, basically in order to regulate them, the British government has introduced this Regulating Act 1773, and this act also founded the central administration in India. How the governors of Bombay and Madras became subordinate to Governor General of Bengal. Hence, this act founded the central administration in India. But full central administration you can see at peaks through 1833 act, but we will discuss this act later. But here the foundation stone for this central administration began in the act, in which act? In 1773 act. And the Governor General of Bengal assisted by 4-member executive council. 4-member executive council. So 4 plus 1 5. So majority decision can be taken with 3:2. So 4-member executive council to assist Governor General of Bengal, and this act also prohibits officers from taking private trade. So this is one more important provision, and the important points important for the examination. What the first Governor General of Bengal is Warren Hastings, and through this act Supreme Court were established in the year 1774, and Supreme Court has one Chief Justice and three other judges, total 4, and the name of that Chief Justice is Sir Elijah Mp. So these were important pointers. Make a note of all these pointers one by one about this act. And the second act, which is Pitt's India Act 1784, this brought up some amendments to Regulating Act 1773. The major provisions of this act is this act demarcated political as well as commercial functions of East India Company, and the political functions were carried out by or basically managed by Board of Control, and commercial functions were managed by Court of Directors. And here Board of Control appointed by whom? Appointed by British government. Therefore eventually this Board of Control becomes powerful. Basically what it does what it can supervise the revenues of government as well, revenues of East India Company, and also the affairs of or activities of East India Company as well. So British government now supervise the activities of East India Company. So this is the significance of this act. And if you see the main features or provisions of this act, is this act established dual government. If in examination dual government or double government established through which act? The name of the act is Pitt's India Act 1784. So double government how? One is Board of Control, newly formed Board of Control, and another one is Court of Directors. Court of Directors supervises on commercial affairs of the company, and the Board of Control manage political affairs of the company. This is how double government or dual government established through this act. And one more provision is, previously the 4-member executive council were present, but 1 member was reduced, and totally 3-member executive council to assist Governor General of Bengal. So why reduced from 4 to 3? We have to understand here. Previously governor, previously it is 4 plus 1 5, 3:2, but now 3 plus 1 4, it is 2:2. So to make the favor to Governor General of Bengal, which is appointed by British government, so British government has reduced 4-member executive council to 3-member executive council. And the one more important provision is all the companies territories in India now called as what? Now called as British possessions in India. British possessions in India. So these were main provisions of this act, and important provisions were what? Dual government, board of control takes care of political functions, court of directors takes care of commercial affairs of the company, and from 4 members to Governor General's Executive Council reduced to 3 members, and companies' territories were now called British possessions in India. So this is important provisions. These were the important provisions of this Pitt's India Act 1784. So for this session, we have discussed Regulating Act 1773 and Pitt's India Act 1784. And in the next lecture, we will discuss about Charter Act 1813 and 1833, and also 1793 as well, but this is not that much important. Anyhow, we will discuss for continuity 1793, 1813 and 1833. These 3 acts we will discuss in the next lecture. So that's it for this session. Thank you so much for watching. Jai Hind.